Uh, I don't know if she pulled out. Boy, that would be terrible news.
Yeah, that'd be
Wow. Any
really.
rumor why? I mean, a weight issue or an injury?
It was saying something about like health concerns.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea. I just wondered, like, I was wondering if you knew.
There's something within the rules, and I used to know these perfectly, but I don't know them now because they've changed. But there is something within the rules where the number one person can pull out and get rescheduled, but they got to pull out in a certain window, and
Okay.
it can't be. It can't even give the illusion that I'm pulling out because I can't make weight.
Yeah.
So I would think on this short of notice, if she were to pull out, that she would be eliminated and the next girl would go. That's how I
Yeah.
think this would work. But there has been some years where this has happened at Olympic trials, even. And if it's the number one person, if they don't step on the scale, they have the right to wrestle off at a later date. So
Jeez.
we'll see
Okay.
what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
That would be terrible news though for the country if she pulled out. She's something very special.
She is. Yeah. So I was wondering if you just knew. It's something that I saw online. So yeah. Well.
Well, let me get this prediction from you:
Okay.
Is Kyle Date going to beat Valencia?
Shoot. Um. I don't know. Actually, I don't know. They're
It's
both
a
pretty
size
good.
issue. It's a
Yeah.
size issue. Dake weighs, he's 2 kilos underweight. Just
Yeah.
walking around.
I don't
He's five
know.
pounds underweight.
See, that's terrible. See, I don't. I wouldn't do it to be honest. That'd be hard. That'd be horrible.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's very weird. Kyle Dake, I don't know how much you followed his career, but he won an NCAA title at 141 pounds.
Yeah. I believe I
It,
seen that. Yeah.
yeah, it kept changing, but he was in college at 141. He entered the Olympic trials in 2016 at this weight class of 86 kilograms.
Yeah.
And he ended up second, but he got second to Jaden Cox. It went all three matches, and on the way to the finals, he took out David Taylor 7-1. So he can go with all these guys,
Yeah.
but going 2 or 3 matches in one day, or 4 or 5 matches in one day, while giving up weight, it can wear on you. So
Yeah. Yeah.
he's probably my favorite wrestler. Is why I bring him up. He's probably my. I
Yeah.
almost named my son. I almost named my son Dake just
Oh,
because I was such a fan. I'd never met him. I was just enamored with his career.
that's awesome. Well, to start, I really just wanted to say like an introduction about who I am. And yeah, okay, so my name is Kiana Gutierrez Munoz. I'm a sophomore at Hermiston High School in Oregon. And just first of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for taking your precious time out of your day to talk to me. It means a lot.
Well,
Um,
that's very sweet of you. That's very
yeah,
sweet of you to say. But of course I would. This is what wrestlers do for each other. It would
yeah.
always be a yes.
Yeah, well, just thank you. And also, please forgive me if I happen to stutter or get too nervous because it gets really bad. Like, it's not every day where you meet someone that you look up to, like someone famous, and it's
That's
just
nice.
it's just crazy.
Well, thank you for that. Hey, by the way, I didn't realize that you were in Hermiston. Now, Hermiston, if I understand, now
Yeah.
contests in the state of Washington.
Yes, yes, yeah, we do.
Did Hermiston win? I know you're head coach, but did they win the state title in Washington, or do they come in second?
We came in second.
They did. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're in very good hands. Your head coach is a superhuman being. In addition to
Yeah, yeah, he is. So I just wanted to tell you that I've now been able to meet two big athletes, you, and then I actually met Amit Alor twice.
oh, you did. How was she? Did she
Yeah.
let you down, or was it cool?
Oh, it was amazing. I attended her first ever women's camp. It was phenomenal. It was insane. And I actually stayed in the same hotel as her. I didn't know that until well, it's just there's just like this. I have a funny story for you actually. So to start, I was getting breakfast and I think I was getting waffles or something, and I hear someone come down and I'm just still busy, with my waffle, and then I look to my left and it's a meat. And I'm like, what the heck? And she's just right there and she's getting I still remember what it was. It was like bacon and eggs. And I was like, no way. And I just stood there. Like I didn't say hi.
So hold on, I want to picture this. So you're at a hotel that
Yes.
serves breakfast. So you're down there, you're kind of going through the line. Is it like that?
Yeah, yeah,
All right, I get it. I get it.
yeah. And yeah, so she was just right there and like I didn't even say nothing. I was just too stunned. I was like, no, wait, an Olympian's right in front of my face. I did not say nothing.
The Olympic champion, as a matter of
Yeah,
fact. Yeah,
yeah,
not just an Olympian, the best. No,
yep,
that would be
that's the
cool.
best. Yeah, but I stood there like chill. I stood there. I didn't do nothing.
Do, do you know the name Kendall Cross?
Kendall Cross. Is
Ken,
that like
Kendall Cross would be just a little bit before your time. He was the Olympic champion in 1996. But don't forget, we don't have the internet. The internet came out in like 94 and people didn't really have it until 2003. So it's not the same. Like
yeah,
if you see somebody and you recognize them, they have to be pretty damn big for you to recognize them since there's no internet. My only point was Kendall
yeah,
Cross, who ended up being the Olympic champion, is dating some girl 2 hours away from here. He comes into town to see her and enters an open. He enters an open that, by the way, he didn't even have a singlet. He was out there in like sweatpants and a shirt, and he didn't think it was a big deal. And we
yeah,
can't believe he's there. We cannot believe Kendall Cross has entered, put down his $10 and got on the scale and wrestled these 4 or 5 matches. We can't believe he's there.
yeah,
He can't believe that we think it's a big deal. He can't believe that there's a line like wanting autographs and pictures. But I only share that because there was something that made it even cooler. The fact that he was a star that didn't know he was a star made
yeah,
his star even brighter.
yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that. It might be an embarrassing story, I guess, for me because I mean, I told my teammates about it, my parents about it, and they just make fun of me for it. So I'm just like, I mean, okay. Yeah, so I mean, let a gold medalist away. I didn't say hi.
Well, she has an argument. She might be the best wrestler we've ever had. It's a little
Yeah,
bit premature, but what she pulled off in that one year with the U17, the U20, and U23, and then the senior level. I mean, that's the thing of folklore. That's the thing that people that are all dead and have no proof claim that they once saw, and their grandfather told them before he died. Like that's not ever something that you can actually confirm. The fact that she
yeah,
actually did that a year ago,
it's
yeah, man, I'd have been right there with you. I'd have been excited to see her too.
crazy. Yeah, it was amazing. I was just like, oh my gosh. Yeah, but I guess I do feel the nerves, because you're just such a big person, I'm seeing you on YouTube every day, The Ultimate Fighter, I'm watching it right now. Like it's just it's crazy. And like just like your like unique take on MMA news every day. Like what recently wasn't it Marab and O'Malley or something and John
Yes,
Jones' Aspinall? Yeah.
yes. Just got back from that. Just got back from a Robin O'Malley, and what an atmosphere, man! That Marab. And Marab is really representing wrestling.
Yeah.
That's not what he's chosen to represent. I think he like signs up under Sambo or something to pay some respect, but that's wrestling.
Yeah.
He's hitting double A takedowns. He's hitting inside trips and body locks. That is wrestling. He's one of the great representatives that we had, that we currently have. And I wish he would sign up as wrestling. He took on Henry Cejudo, which was our gold medalist, and he out wrestled Henry. And I
Yep.
wish that Marab would have given us a little bit of shine, but I understand that he wants to
Yeah.
pay respect to whatever
Yeah.
his background was. But the truth is he's a wrestler and
He
he's
is.
doing very well with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So just want to say that I watch everything, you inspire me.
I really appreciate that. That's a tremendous compliment. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah, you're
Ultimate
welcome.
Fighter, girl, that is such a hard process.
It's
Oh my
crazy.
goodness. What what those people go through, and in this one I'll say guys, but they have female seasons too.
Yeah,
But what
yeah.
they go through is truly unbelievable. They're locked down. The UFC wants them to fully concentrate. Hey, give it, you got 40 days, give it your best effort. So the
Yeah.
UFC will bring you any food that you want. You've got this little notepad and you write on you could write lobster or you could write
Oh,
Diet Coke. It doesn't matter. You put it
really?
down before you go to bed. It will be there in the morning when you
Wow.
get up. So you got this nutrition you don't have to worry about. They give you a place to stay. Some fighters are, they're sleeping on couches or trying to get from one town to the next as they have their
Yeah,
dream.
yeah, yeah.
UFC handles all this stuff. But on the other side, they take your phone. There's no internet. There's no
Okay.
communication. They want you fully locked in for this period. And that concentration element
Yeah.
has inadvertently turned out to be one of the most compromising things. Guys, they get lonely or they
Yeah.
miss their wife.
Mhm.
or it's their mother's birthday and they can't call them. But these things start to affect them. And there are times in your life when you need to talk to your mom. And when you get done
Yeah.
in an ass whipping contest, that's one of those times. Whether you won or you didn't win, there's times that you got to call home.
Yeah.
And I just seen it's an amazing process because I'm telling you, this is my third time through it. But one thing has been consistent, which is on the very first day when we all meet and we all get there. If
Yeah.
we had a way to contest it that day, whoever would have won is
Mhm.
never the person that wins it at the end because
Yeah.
the physical element is so reduced and taken over by the mental ability to hang in and have discipline. And I had a coach tell me that discipline is to be defined as remembering what your goals are. When
Yeah.
you have distractions, to be able to remember what your goal is. And it's a very hard thing to do. And the Ultimate Fighter, I have so much respect for the people that come through that, but they deserve more respect. That's what I'm
They
trying to
do.
tell you.
Yeah.
They deserve more because that is such a trying process.
It is like, geez. And I was even gonna ask you, like, how was it? Like, what was like behind the scenes like with these fighters? Because I mean, well, we see them on TV and we see them like leading up to their fight, and I was just wondering like how was it coaching those athletes? You know, was
I'm
it?
sorry I sent that text there. You didn't lose my attention. It was my
Oh no, no,
mother.
no.
My mother's trying to find me, so I was just letting her know what room I was in. You know, okay. There's so many different ways to answer your question. So you had
Yeah.
paid me some very nice compliments earlier and said that you appreciated my career, but I appreciated Daniel Cormier's career.
Oh
And
yeah.
Daniel Cormier achieved a lot of what I wanted to achieve. We were in college at the same time. And I was an All-American, but I'm sitting in, he's wrestling on the
Mm.
baby blue mat for the national championship against Chael Sanderson. You know, he was just always a little bit ahead of me.
Yeah.
I made it to world title fights. He made it to the world title. He was always a little bit ahead of me.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a thrill to see him in that regard behind the scenes,
Yeah.
to see the way that he trains his team. He's got a very successful club out of Gilroy. The same time that we were filming The Ultimate Fighter was the same month of the California State Championship. So Daniel, God bless him, would get up in the morning in Las Vegas and train his fighters. He would not tell anybody. He would go to the airport, catch a plane to California where a car would pick him up. He'd go to the high school to run high
Yeah.
school practice. He wouldn't tell anybody. He'd drive back to the airport, fly back to Las Vegas so
My
that he
God.
could run the practice in the morning. And I just thought that was a very amazing thing to do. You know, he's not paid for either role. You're not paid for the Ultimate Fighter. That's because you care. And then of course a high school
Mhm.
coach is, as you well know,
It's not,
that's
yeah.
not something where you're going to bring in the money. You have to have a real passion. And I just thought
Yeah.
that somebody as great as Daniel
Mhm.
to be willing to give back to that degree, and I wouldn't have even known it had I not seen it with my own eyes. But it was very impressive.
Yeah, that sounds beautiful. Um, and also, who would you like to see coach the next Ultimate Fighter? Like, if you could pick anyone, who would you
Okay,
pick? Like,
okay.
what do you think? What do you think?
All arrogance aside, and this is going to be disgustingly arrogant, I feel it should be Daniel and I.
Yeah,
And I feel that for two reasons. First off, we have the highest ratings. More people are watching than any other
yeah,
episode. But
yeah,
but 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 part two is there's always been a fundamental belief that the two coaches then will fight each other.
yeah,
And I get that to a degree, but in the real world, the coaches aren't generally athletes. Like they don't go out there and battle. You know, whether it's the
yeah,
NFL or the NBA or the sport of wrestling that you and I love, the
yeah,
coaches coach and the athletes go and do the battle. So, um, I do think to have guys that are actual coaches outside of the Ultimate Fighter that actually have clubs and teams. Maybe I could even bring in some of my own guys, and Daniel could bring in some of his own guys. But I think they would be wise to have us come back and do it again.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I agree. You guys are doing really good. I enjoy
What about
watching.
you, by the way? What about you? Are you an aspiring MMA?
To be honest, I mean, I really, I would really like to be in MMA. I mean, being a wrestler, I love it. I love it so much, and I watch UFC, and um, I would really like to. You know, I would like to try. It seems fun.
You're in a tough part of the state. I will tell you, Hermiston has always been tough. I mean, they're just tough. They're just tough folks that you go to school with, that you grow up around. There's just that
Yeah,
farm life and that country life. It's tough people. You would be in good hands. You literally could go into Larson's office and ask him and just say, "Look, Coach, this is what I want to pursue," and he could get you in the right directions. He's a very capable man, Kyle Larson.
I'm gonna have to ask him this. It just it amazes me that I mean that you know Hermiston. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like
Oh yeah.
nobody knows Hermiston. I don't know.
Hermiston used to pull up to events in a limo, and it was an old limo. It was like a 1989. It was like this old style, but it
Yeah.
said Hermiston Wrestling, and it had your guys' mascot all in yellow on the sides. It was badass. Yeah,
No,
and they'd open the door, and I mean, it was like brandy, like scotch and cigars. All the
yeah,
dads are inside, and the 3 or 4 dads, all their boys were state champions, and
yeah.
yeah, and then there's some families that will come through where the family's got a brother or 2 brothers and they all got state championships. They're going in the living room and having to go takedowns before they can come to the
Oh
dinner
yeah.
table. Like Hermiston is just tough. Hermiston, that's the good old boys to me.
Yeah,
That's
wow.
the heart and soul right there.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, that feels good. That feels really good. Um, so I was talking to Mira Sonnen earlier, and she had told me that you guys are related. I had no idea. Are you
Yeah,
guys like what do you call it? Like cousins? I don't
yeah,
know. You guys are cousins?
yeah. That's right.
That's crazy because I'm really good friends with her and well she had the 145 state title. And I mean we're in the same weight class.
Oh, I didn't know you knew Mira. Okay, did
Yeah,
you
yeah,
guys
I
ever
know.
meet up?
So if I wasn't being dumb, like mentally, I really struggled with my mentality as a wrestler, and that's something that I want to improve. But if it wasn't for me lacking in my mentality, I would have wrestled her twice.
Sure.
Yeah,
I understand, and to pay her that compliment, that's the one thing that she had. Like she didn't have the physicality, she didn't know any kind of wrestling. She steps in and tells us as a family. I remember it was at a Christmas, and she comes in and tells the
yeah.
family that she's wrestling. And they're about 2 months into the season, and I blew it off. I didn't.
Like,
First off, I didn't really believe her. I didn't think she was that interested. She had a hurt ankle, so she hadn't been to practice much. I mean, like just as her story, she was telling the story. I didn't really understand how committed she was, but
yeah,
she was dog tough.
she
And every time
was.
I'd watch one of her matches, she was just mean enough. She was just strong enough. She was just determined enough. And that was even in front of her physical abilities. Like they had to teach her how to get into a stance and show her what a half Nelson was. She didn't know these things, and she ends up
Yeah,
she's on scholarship. She just signed with Columbia. She won herself 2 state championships. She got a pin in the finals. She's
yeah.
on fire. I want her to go out to Fargo. I hope she goes to Fargo and tests it with everybody in the nation. I don't know if she's going or not, but I hope so.
I hope she is. Oh my gosh, that's awesome, man.
Are
Yeah.
you doing that this year? Are you going to the nationals?
So, okay, so I was supposed to. I was already like I qualified, I got second and I was ready. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to Fargo, I'm really excited. But me and my coaches were talking about it and they had said that it was probably not a good idea to go, mainly because like nobody else qualified. It was just
Yeah.
me. And so they were just saying that it's probably not a good idea. And I was like, okay.
Well, you got to listen to your coaches. Yeah, if that's their opinion. I will tell you though, Fargo will change you. Like if you see Fargo when you come back, you will be different. You just will. It is the most well ran wrestling tournament in the world, aside from the NCAA. They run Fargo better than they run the Olympic Games, and it's intimidating as hell. They got 100-man brackets out there. They
Yeah,
got 130-man brackets, and they will fight it out one by one by one till there's one person left standing. And when you come back from that, whether it went well or not, I'll just share with you, you will be different. You will come back with a different frame of mind. You will come back with a different uh, grit. It'll
yeah,
change your goals. Fargo's something very, very special to see.
yeah. I really want to go. I'm hoping that I mean next year, if everything goes good, that I can go.
And you're only a sophomore.
Yeah, I'm only a sophomore. I'm only a
But
sophomore.
you'd have 2 years left. Yeah, you're doing everything right. Your coaches gave you good advice. It's best to go your senior year. They gave you
Mhm.
good advice.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, and I also wanted to ask you, so back to like my lack of good mentality as a wrestler. I wanted to ask, how could I work on that possibly? Because like my coaches are always telling me that I have amazing technique, and I mean that's gotten me a fourth place finish at state in
Great.
Washington, and it's my second year as a wrestler, and I want the title, I want it so bad. And, they're always saying that I lack aggression, and like, if I could just really work on my mentality, I can go far. But it's like, I don't know how to.
Yes, I do know what you mean, and I had that same problem. Everybody does. Everybody has that problem to a degree. It's no different than trying to get a little bit stronger. Everybody's given some amount of strength, and you do your push-ups and pull-ups and try to grow from there.
Yeah.
The most helpful thing for me, and I learned it too late. I was out of college. I was out of eligibility. All of my goals or the opportunity to even have a shot for them was gone
Yeah.
when I learned that my secret was everybody else's secret, and that was being fearful before the match. And a combat athlete, like a wrestler, our
Yeah.
biggest fear is not the outcome of the match. Our biggest fear, our absolute number one, is fatigue.
It
That we
is.
will get so tired at some point in the match that we can no longer continue the match or no longer defend ourselves. That is our biggest fear.
Mhm.
And then you start to get into the outcome. And there was a very great wrestler, I believe to be the best wrestler ever, named John Smith. And John Smith released in a book, and I happened to read it, but I read it a little too late. And he said that his whole focus was on the performance, not the outcome. He wanted to do three things for himself. He wanted to stay low. He wanted to move his feet. He wanted to get to the opponent's leg. Those were his three things.
Yeah.
But the point was that he was going to boil everything down to three things. He was going to be committed to it and go out and do that for 6 minutes as hard as he could.
Yeah.
And whatever happened with the score happened with the score. He would look at that later, and whoever's got more points, they'll raise their hand and they'll move on. But he just really condensed it down and made wrestling pretty simple. You know, the 1,000 different moves that he practiced every day, there was only three things he was going to do in a match. He was going to bend his knees, he was going to keep his feet moving, he was going to get to the leg. That was it. And he was going to do that over and over for 6 minutes, see what the scoreboard says. And I thought I was the only one that was scared. I'd walk into an arena and go to shake some guy's hand, and I could feel it in my stomach. And I'd look at his face, and he looked like he was happy to be there. He looked like he was enjoying himself.
Yeah.
And I would always say, God, I wish I was like him. I wish that I was happy for this moment, but I'm not. I want to get through this moment.
Yeah.
And I was about 26 years old when I realized, or I found out, that's how everybody feels. I thought it was just me. I thought I was carrying around this secret. So when I learned that other people felt it, I was
Yeah.
able to. My amateur career that did not go as far as I wanted it to, but I was able to make some big adjustments for a professional career, and
Yeah.
I largely attribute it to that, to realizing that having that anxiety or whatever we want to call, people call it butterflies, whatever
Yeah.
that is,
Yeah.
that everybody feels it. When I found that out, I'll tell you, I took a lot of solace in it. Randy Couture said something once. Randy Couture said that scientifically,
Yeah.
the the chemical that your brain releases through your body for excitement is the same chemical your brain releases through your body for fear.
Mhm.
And that you then as a person get to choose which you feel. That the scientific chemical is the same. And so whenever he would feel fearful, he would just convince himself that was excitement. And as simple as that might sound, it took me a long way. It's
Yeah.
something that you might take with you. Two things: to know next time you feel that way, that's normal. And
Yeah.
second, to try to convince yourself that that's actually excitement that you're feeling.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Um, yeah, that means a lot. Thank you. I also did want to ask you because I mean, you've wrestled folk style and you've wrestled freestyle. And I wanted to ask if you could choose one, like what would you pick? Freestyle or folk style? If
Okay. So it's a trick question, and here's why. Folk style is the hardest style. So I went into
Yeah.
MMA, and the reason that American wrestling does so well in MMA, and it's not the Russians and the Cubans and the Iranians, they're not coming over and becoming MMA champions, but the reason is in collegiate, you're rewarded to hold somebody down against their will, but
Yeah.
you're also rewarded to get yourself free
Mhm.
against the other person's will. And that's something that freestyle doesn't have. And that's the reason that the Iranians and the Russians and the Cubans and some of the countries that do so well in the World and Olympic Games don't come over to MMA. So to answer your question, if I could only have freestyle or collegiate skills, I would take the collegiate skills because it transfers to MMA. But if you
Yeah.
ask me which one I prefer to watch, freestyle is my favorite.
Freestyle your favorite?
Yeah, freestyle is my favorite. I can't wait for Final X tomorrow. And then I personally wrestled Greco-Roman the most.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
Greco.
freestyle was my favorite. I'm a biggest fan of freestyle, even though I did Greco and
Yeah.
respect collegiate.
Wow. Oh, that's so cool. Um, and I just wanted to ask another fun question because
Okay.
something fun, you know? Um, what's like, okay, if you could create any wrestling shoe,
Yep.
like what would you make? You know,
Okay.
like would it be like something like Brutus, Adidas, Nike? I don't know.
The greatest wrestling shoe ever created
Yes.
is a pair of Adidas.
Adidas.
They came out in 1984, and they're a yellow. The shoe, if you go Google it, the whole shoe is yellow,
Yeah.
except for the three Adidas stripes. They're kind of like a pink. So the
Mhm.
whole shoe is yellow with these three Adidas stripes, and that has been argued and that has been debated more times in more saunas on more road trips in more vans. And the final conclusion of every debate I've ever listened to is that that is the ultimate wrestling shoe. It's extremely light. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that they've changed over the years. Some of these shoes are rugged. Some of these shoes are like a weightlifting, or you could take them outside and
Yeah.
run the track. In fact, I see some track athletes and pole vault athletes that are actually wearing wrestling shoes because they're so rugged. And you want a real light shoe. You want as light of weight. You wouldn't want a knee pad that weighs 2 pounds. You'd want one
Yeah.
that weighs 2 ounces. And that was something great about the Adidas. They were made for the Soviet team, which was formerly
Mhm.
known as the USSR, which is now known as Russia.
Yeah.
And but that was it. You couldn't get them. And then they only made them in 1984. They made them for a couple of years. And
Yeah.
so I paid $700 in an auction on eBay 20 years ago. This was 20 years ago, and I had $700 to get a pair of these shoes. And I'm telling you, my teammates were begging me for them.
Oh,
They were begging, they were making bets and they were doing all sorts of stuff trying to get these shoes.
yeah.
$700 is a lot of money, particularly 20 years ago. That'd be like paying 2 grand now. I'd buy it again. Those shoes were awesome.
They're all, oh my gosh.
Now I'm a full supporter of Rudis. Now I got to tell you, I mean, I'm a full supporter now of Rudis, but Asics has done a very good job over the
Yeah.
years. Nike, which is only 20 minutes behind me, I thought Nike could have put a better foot forward. They never
Yeah.
really tried in the wrestling world, but Adidas in 1984, that would be your answer.
Okay, Adidas. Dang. Yeah, because well, my first pair, it was well, last year was my first year. I wrestled with a pair of Asics and they were really good. And this year I had switched to a Rudis pair and I don't know, they're both pretty good. So maybe should I try Adidas next year? I don't
You
know.
should try Adidas.
Adidas.
Adidas really does a very good job and doesn't get credit. Asics is what I wore all growing up, and there was a Dan Gable edition, and they
Uh-huh.
came in red and they came in blue. But the best wrestler currently living in Oregon is a guy named Mark Schultz, and he's in
I've heard of
Southern
them.
Oregon. He's a couple-time world, Olympic, three-time NCAA champion, and he and his brother Dave were both Olympic champions, both NCAA champions.
Yeah.
But they would wear these shoes, and Mark would wear the blue ones, and Dave would wear the red ones. And I always thought that was pretty cool. And so,
Yeah,
I had those growing up, and I really liked them also because they were light. They were very durable. That was a very good shoe, though.
yeah. And mind you, so I didn't know that this meeting has like a time limit. I guess like I have to upgrade it or something, but there's only like 7 minutes remaining, so I just
Oh,
wanted
all
to tell
right. All right. I'll talk
you
faster.
that. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Um,
May I introduce you real here? My daughter is just she's been trying to come over and say hello for the last 20 minutes. You want to say hello?
hi.
She's been lurking over here, so I'm going to hang on to her for a minute.
Oh, okay. No, she's cute.
She actually had a wrestling practice earlier today, more of like an MMA, but she
Yeah.
she shot a double leg on her brother and then she pulled the back of his hair. So
Oh.
I think that's MMA. Yeah. And then grabbed his shirt and twisted
Oh,
it around his neck. So
yeah, my
she's actually
family.
champion of the house. They do one takedown. Every night they do one takedown, and then
Okay.
whoever wins is the champion for the day. She's the current house champion.
That's so cool. That's amazing. Um, and Chael, I also wanted to ask, so will like an appearance will I ever see you at the Tacoma Dome? Like, will I ever see you? Like,
Yes,
serious?
absolutely. Well, I try to go to the Tacoma Dome, and then our Tacoma Dome is called the Coliseum, but that's where we contested in Oregon. And I'm very good about getting to Oregon's
Yeah,
each year, but I'm not so good at getting to the Tacoma Dome. I've got the schedule with the UFC, and
yeah.
it just seems like there's always a UFC on the same night as the state championship, and so it's a little bit tough to get to. But I would hope to come to the Tacoma Dome. I would come and support you, and of course my cousin Mira, who is now done. But there's another gal in Washington that I like to cheer for called Libby Roberts.
I knew you were gonna say that. I
Yeah,
knew it.
she also graduated, but I
Yeah.
think she's going to Fargo this year. I think she's going to go try to win that title. She got second a couple years ago to the Pennsylvania girl,
Oh, I
and
seen
I've
that.
been waiting for that rematch.
Yeah, she's good. She's really good.
Yeah, she's ornery. Libby's ornery.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
she's
you'll
good.
know it. You can feel it around her.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can
you
when
can.
you start talking competition, you can see it in her eyes.
Yeah, I've talked to her before, and I'm just like, oh man, she's down for business. Like she's
Yeah,
ready.
she's not playing. she's there
Yeah,
to
she's not.
she's there to win. Yeah.
I was like,
Well,
okay.
that's why I wanted to go back to Fargo. She made it to the finals 2 years ago. She runs into a Pennsylvania girl that she had beaten in Vegas. She beat the girl like 5-1,
Yeah, and then
and the girl got a leg lace and turned her a couple times, and the match got away from us. And then we never got that rematch. And I
yeah,
don't know. I don't know if it bothers her, but it's bothered me for 2 years. I want that match back.
yeah, no, I agree.
Her brother starts out at Minnesota right now,
That's what I saw. Yeah, that's what I
and
saw.
he's the
I see
starting
it.
49 pounder, doing a great job.
Yeah. Yeah, so I really wanted to ask that question because well, I mean I'm gonna be a senior in 2 years and I'm hungry for that title, so maybe if you ever have a chance, that'd be cool.
If you invite me, I will come. But
Oh,
I'll need like the reminder. You'll need to go, hey, I'm going to the state tournament. You said you'd come. Like, you got to give me like one of those nudges. But if you invite me for your senior year, I will be there.
oh, I will. I will. Oh gosh, that's so cool. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. It just, I mean, it meant so much to me. And
Can I leave you with one? Can I leave you with one final thing?
yes,
You were asking me about mentality
yeah,
earlier,
yeah,
and one of a speech that changed my life,
uh-huh.
and a gentleman that was a NCAA champion for Iowa
Yeah,
named Troy Steiner. And Troy had come to Peninsula Park, which is the club that I wrestled at. And the whole practice gets done, and the coach introduces him, national champion. He was coach at Oregon State, and says, would you speak to the team? And Coach Steiner is very soft spoken, and he just made a point.
hmm,
And his point was this: everything is a wrestle off. And he said, listen, on the level of anxiety or the level of stress, nobody really gets too worked up for the wrestle off within their room, for the
yeah,
JV versus varsity, just that in room wrestle off. And he
hmm,
said, but everything is a wrestle off. And so he said, for the Olympic Games,
yeah,
all that means is you're having a wrestle off, but it would just mean whatever high school in the world that
hmm,
your parents happen to take you to, you could be the varsity wrestler. So
yeah,
he would ask us, he would go, are you good enough to be varsity? Are you sure? And a bunch of hands would go up, and he'd go, no, are you positive? And he
yeah,
said, okay, well, all that this is if your parents moved and this was a school you went to, you're just sure that you would be the varsity wrestler. And
yeah,
there was guys in there that were state champions and whatnot. They knew they could be varsity. But then he worked it the other way too. He said, are you going to have to be a state champion? A bunch of state champions raised their hand. He said, are you sure? And he
hmm,
said, well, the national tournament is saying that you could be the state champion no matter what state you lived in. That's all that you do at nationals. You just prove that you could be the best of the state no matter what state. And he worked that all the way up to the Olympic Games, but then he went the other way and he said, look, maybe you go to a tough high school. Maybe you don't know if you're the varsity guy. Are you the toughest guy on your street? If
yeah,
this guy that you've got to go wrestle, if he moves in two houses down, does he now control the basketball court? Does he now tell you what to do? And he said, maybe you live on a tough street. Break it down. Are you the baddest dude in your house? Are
hmm,
you sure? And he'd ask him, and he'd make everybody till they raised their hand and said yes. He'd go, okay, so if this guy that you got to wrestle moves into your house, he's not taking the remote control. You're not sleeping on the floor. You're the toughest guy in your house. And he said, maybe you live in a tough house. Are you the baddest dude in your room? In your bedroom, can you beat anybody that comes in your bedroom? And he would just create an environment. And then he would encourage the athletes that when they walked out there, whatever was on the line, that you put yourself in an environment mentally
Yeah.
that you know that you would win, whether that was world, national, state, or whether that was street, house, bedroom. When you create an environment that you know you're the best in, he's just saying that that's all that matches. If you know you could beat this guy in your house, then it's not going to be any different if it's Thursday night, in the gym in front of your classmates. And I thought it was a very good point. I understood it. When I
Yeah.
was a teenager and I listened to his words and I got it. And I did apply that for the rest of my career, and now I'm passing it to you. So if
Well,
that's
thank
helpful,
you. Yes, thank you so much.
wonderful.
Yes, thank you. I mean, this means a lot to me. It made my whole year. Like, oh my gosh.
Well, you have flattered me. You've been very nice to me. Thank you, girl. And
Yeah,
hello
no
to everybody in
problem.
Hermiston.
Oh,
I'm
I'll
very
tell you
close
guys.
with your coach, Coach Larson. He does a great job. I had the great honor of coaching him when he was a young man. So
That's so cool.
hello to everybody.
Yeah, I'll tell them. Just thank you, Chael. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm always watching, so just know.
I appreciate that. Thank you.